Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my great pleasure to welcome and introduce His Excellency Armեն Sարգսյան, the President of Armenia. Dr. Sարգsyan has served as President of Armenia since April 2018. He's not only a politician, but he's also a physicist and computer scientist. And he is, ladies and gentlemen, a true champion of global dialogue and engagement. He has been moving Armenia to the forefront of globalization. Armenia's economy is booming, especially in the area of digitalization and ICT. And Armenia is a very active member of the global community. President Sարգsyan will speak about how to vitalize global governance. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Richter. It's a pleasure to speak to you, and it's my great pleasure and honor to speak to a wider audience in a friendly country like India. Well, I could have said that friendly because the friendly goes up to centuries and thousands of years of relations between Armenia and Armenians and India. And there are so many examples of that. Armenians used to travel to India and Indians to Armenia going back to 2,000 years ago and more. We are even words and names related to Sanskrit and India and Indian history. And we have Armenian communities very active for hundreds of years in Calcutta, in Madras, in Bombay, and many other places. So we are two friends, one small in the size of the population, the other one is big, but culturally we are very brotherly nation. So it's my great pleasure to speak to the audience in India. The theme that you asked me to talk is about current situation and where we are and what is happening and where are the difficulties. It's an amazing point today. Because from one point of view, the world is facing a huge crisis. It's a humanitarian crisis, it's a human crisis. We are losing hundreds of thousands of lives are lost in many countries, including in my own country, Armenia. We have more than 400 people who have died. For a small country, it's a huge number, and there are more than 20,000 already discovered who are affected, and we are still climbing. So it's a big tragedy for the world. So it looks like we could have said that this is the worst moment. But if I take myself out of my duties as the president, my life as a citizen Republic of Armenia, and go somewhere into the cosmos, you said I'm a physicist. I used to be astrophysicist, so I would like to look at this planet with the eyes of an alien. Then what I would see is that we are living in a world that has accumulated both the best and the worst. So the worst because we are facing a huge health crisis and coronavirus as a pandemic, which is taking lives, destroying economies, relations, logistics, trade, many things. So we are going to face further deepening of the economic crisis, so that's very, very bad. But if I look at the world just days or months before the coronavirus started, and maybe if I will have an ability to look after, then I would say that probably from the point of view of humanity, we are living the most exciting times. Because for the first time, we have a world which is so much interconnected. Connectivity, connections are phenomenal. So we speak to each other, one from Australia, the other one from Argentina, you Switzerland, and our colleagues in India. This is a fantastically connected, over-connected planet. On the other side, we are traveling so freely. So for anybody traveling from India to Armenia, from Armenia to Argentina to Australia, it's just a daily routine for us. So we have become absolutely interconnected world. Then we have to learn how to expand the potential of this planet in producing, for example, basic products like food. We can produce huge amount of food. And if you go back 50 years ago, the big fear of the world was hungry China or hungry India. Because nobody was sure 60, 70 years ago that those countries with billion of population can manage feed their people. Of course, this is a world where there are hundreds of millions of still very poor and starving people that we have not solved, but we have shown that this planet with the new technology is able to solve these problems. We are living in a planet when that we have discovered the nature deep inside, I mean going up to elementary particles up to the space, and we are living exciting times, or I call it our evolution, rapid evolution. It's not even an industrial revolution, because industrial revolution is a revolution that is connected to one issue, like the first ones related. The first, I think, was the Industrial Revolution, where people discovered how to use the power of fire, and then how to use the power of the vapor, water vapor that comes from the fire, and create machines and locomotives. And then it comes to discovery of electricity, then the world has changed, and discovery of computers. But now we are living a time where revolutions happen and will happen every day. So that means that we will be changing this world, I hope, to the better every day. So this is, from one point of view, today is a very tragic moment, but from historic perspective, this is a wonderful time when the future is clear to me that it's not going to be the classical world as we knew before, because of our rapid development, because of the huge capacity and the power that humanity has. And the world is going to change. The way we produce cars is going to change, because it will be done by robotic lines, by artificial intelligence. People will not lose jobs, because when the computers were introduced, people didn't lose jobs, but a country like India has got a new place in the new world where the jobs are distributed. India is a place where computer services are number one in the world. They service Switzerland, they service Britain, they service America. So India has discovered new jobs which are international jobs which didn't exist. So fearing of introduction of computers that will destroy jobs, in reality they created millions and millions of new jobs. The same will happen with artificial intelligence. So we are living in a completely different world, and there'll be a lot of challenges, because many of our values we have to revalue it. Because the way we were running many things, many aspects of our lives are becoming, I call it quantum, starting from global risks, like the pandemic is a global risk. Why we are facing this huge tragedy? Not because coronavirus is a very unique virus, no. The coronavirus is a virus that we have seen before as well. What is different is the world. The world has changed. It's not the same classical world. It's interconnected, so that's why the virus spreads all over the world very fast. And it's not sort of going classically starting from China, going to Mongolia, Kazakhstan, Russia, then Europe. No, it jumps from there to Europe, then to Latin America, wherever. So this is a completely new world. In order to fix the global risks, we have to, first of all, change our habits and the way we look at the world. In order to make this world better, we have to start learning that the introduction of things like the new achievements of biotechnology into the healthcare, or new achievements of artificial intelligence into production, that will change the whole environment, the whole economy. It will change also the industries. We have to redefine what will be the priorities for us for the next 100 years. Because as I told you, I think production of cars will not be located where you have cheap workforce, or production of shirts will not be located on the places where they have cheap workforce. It will be located in the places where you have the most intelligence, because it will be run by robots, but it will create new millions of jobs of those who are running the artificial intelligence. So this is a new exciting world. In the middle, we have the trouble. So from historic perspective, I would say this is a turning point, this is a crossroad. And we have to redefine many things, up to how we are sort of exercising basic human values, basic political values. And we have to redefine it, including values like democracy. Let's go back. All of these years, the moment from its birth and becoming international sort of a necessity, democratic institution, democratic behavior, democratic way of running your life in huge territories like Europe and the West And in the East and in the South, democracy has become a very important part of our life, but the way we exercise a democracy today and tomorrow will be different. I think just simple election when you go to the polling station and just basically you vote for the next MP, and then he is responsible for you, and he comes and tells about his achievements or failures, let's say, once or twice a year, and then in 5 years you have to re-elect her or him. It's going to be different, because the politicians are responsible of whatever they do today daily, because there is Facebook and the voters vote daily. So there is a huge, and will be a huge change of the way we behave. Look at the world. I think just institutions which are based on ideology, would be that left or right, institutions that are classical institutions, they are now led by other forces, in many cases charismatic leaders that have direct access to the people. They are bypassing the usual newspapers, they are bypassing the usual television stations, they are bypassing even their own political parties and having direct connection and discussion with the people. I don't want to bring example, it's a worldwide, from America up to Asia. What is happening now, and you call them, some of them come in a form, political changes come in a form of populism or political changes or revolutions, but if you look at the core of it is the change of the world, that we're living in a completely world. And let's be honest, even in India, in Armenia, anywhere in America, in China, Russia, I mean, you go to China, you go to India, everybody's working with his virtual me. Basically, it's that telephone that contains the connection with the world with the speed of light, that contains the huge amount of information about the world and about the individual, is also a part of the life, and we spend a big part of our time. My message is, yes, this is a dramatic moment. With a huge voice, the coronavirus is saying, wake up, the world has changed. We have to rethink about many things, how we run our healthcare, how we run our institutions, how we are organized. Instead of waiting until the pandemic happens and we throw into the markets the trillions of dollars or euros or anything else, why don't we think wisely and spend that money beforehand, before the coronaviruses, on healthcare, on nature, preservation of nature, which is very important, because a lot of us do understand that future pandemics will be a result of the unhealthy relations between humans and the nature, which includes animals, and contaminated nature will create new pandemics, contaminated relations with animals and others. So it's a time that we're on the crossroad. This is a wonderful world with tragic moment, but the world has not been so much connected, so much rich, so much achieved, if you take historically, than today. I think the only thing that is missing is common sense, that we all to have to use that, recognize that the world has changed. And in order to make it more sharper, I am using, as a physicist, a term which is called the new quantum world. So whatever we had before was the classical. Demography is changing rapidly, everything is changing. So it is a new quantum world. For many, it's unpredictable, it's unknown, it's challenging, it's frightening. But for those who will start embracing this world, using new logic and new philosophy, it will be the best place in the universe to live. That's my introduction. If you have any further questions, happy to hear from you.
Thanks so much, Mr. President, for this very enlightening work. And I fully agree that the world is a wonderful place we are living in. And I think we have to embrace the future, we have to shape the future, and there's definitely light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Now, if we look ahead and with all this optimism, what can we do in this world which is interconnected? What kind of new institutions do we need? How do we have to steer this world to come out of this crisis?
I would not go the path of going through new institutions. I think we have a lot of institutions that we already have been developing for years, and we take United Nations and other international organizations and so on. What we have to do is that we have to rethink their role. How they have to act the next 10 years or 20 years, what sort of powers we have to give them into this new quantum world. Their powers, their responsibilities, and all of that was clear in the classical world. That was 20, 30, 40 years ago. But in this new quantum world, we have to redefine, not destroy them or start a new one. No, that's, I think, one of the great powers of humanity is the ability of having a heritage. I mean, continuation of what you have achieved. So if you have United Nations, we have to strengthen that organization. And I'm happy to say that UNCTAD, which is based in Geneva, have asked me to chair a group of prominent people, presidents, prime ministers of different countries and others, in order to think about the future of that organization. So we have to rethink how to reshape them, how to change what sort of powers or even tools to give them so they will be successful doing what they have to do. Of course, there will be need for some new ideas as well. As an example, I can share with you, for years I was thinking about something that I thought could be a feature of this new world. And that, I call that the club of smart or successful small states. Well, I mean, how do you define who is smart, who is not, or who is successful or not? It's a relative thing. But this is an idea to bring together small states that have shown this ability of change, ability of understanding, ability looking more to the future. The success is not about the GDP or GDP growth. It's more about the ability. A country like Rwanda that was in a very difficult position have achieved something and achieved dramatic things, including bringing, for example, electronic government and new forms of. So I consider that it's a successful state. They are in Middle East, they are in the Gulf, they are in Europe, they are worldwide, starting from the classical ones that everybody knows. I don't want to give names here, but the club will be a place where the heads of states of these countries will have an exchange of ideas. I've been thinking and putting that together, probably in the near future I'll announce this. I've been discussing that with the heads of small states. This is not an alliance. This is not the European Union, Eurasia Economic Union, or any other alliance, neither military or political. This is just a club where you come and share. And by sharing also you excite the other side to do, if you have done something successful, then the other side, your friends, because the world is changing. It's not necessarily that you have to be huge and mighty, massive and very strong with huge territory and military powers, but the small states can have their say on the global issues, on the global development of technology, science, education. We see a lot of fantastic new ideas on how to run the business, how to run education from small countries. So this is absolutely not an alliance putting together of countries geographically or economically, not at all. This is just a club. A recognition that small can not be only beautiful, but it could be also important and powerful and successful. So this is an idea, as you said. My suggestion is we keep all of our institutions, organizations, let's strengthen them, but in the meantime, do we like it or not, we will be forced to recognize the power of even individual, because this is new time. The power of startups, this is 21st century. Startups are becoming more and a more important part of our economy and industries. So if you go further, individual, startup, industrial organizations of startups, or they're interconnected, but then you go also to the small states that are supporting startups, they are supporting artificial intelligence, they are future-looking states. So a club of them that they can have exchange of that, again, in a friendly club environment, not against, but for everybody.
It's a very strong, Mr. President, club of nations collaborating, a whole community getting together, also different stakeholders, not only nations, but also companies, large and small, startups, but also the individual. As you're a physicist yourself, I think focusing on the human and the interaction with nature is so important. And maybe this crisis now, as you said, we are at the crossroads right now, is also a chance, an opportunity to rethink our connection and our interaction with nature. So,
with many things. It's a sort of a cold shower to humanity that the world has changed. It's the time that we start recognizing and rethinking many of our values.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to take a step back and rethink our models. As you said, we have to reinvent, not coming back to the new normal, but to the new kind of atomic thinking, forward thinking, and using science to make this happen.
Yeah.
So, Mr. President, thank you so much for this very powerful message this morning. All the best to Yerevan, and I should also mention to the audience here that Horasis is planning a big summit in Yerevan in October, of course, COVID permitting, and we're very much looking forward to collaborate with Armenia and with your good self, Mr. President.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Well, my final message, welcome to the quantum world that we have to reshape together. I will be very happy to greet all of your friends and colleagues that are watching in Armenia, but in the meantime, use this.
Yeah.
Health is important.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Your Excellency, Mr. President.
Thank you.